What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back. It's your host, Bruce GNT, and we are going to be talking about Medicaid, right? What's going to be cut for 2025 and the changes that Trump is trying to do. I saw this. I just came across. I was like, you know what? Let me look into this. Let me see. Maybe there's something in it that I don't know about. Maybe there's something more that I can tell people about so that we all can be more informed. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Medicaid is huge. It covers nearly a quarter of Americans and costs more than $800 billion. Huge. But this chart is total spending. Here's what the federal government's share has been. And it's projected to grow even more in the next decade. But the Republicans' Big Beautiful Bill is estimated to cut the spending to here, largely by lowering the number of people covered. Medicaid really started small. So how did it get so big? And who's going to be affected? A quick history lesson. In 1942, Congress gave President FDR the power to freeze wages to fight inflation, which he did. So in order to compete for employees, businesses offered benefits, like this new thing called health insurance, which only 9% of Americans had. The IRS then said that employees didn't have to pay taxes on their insurance premiums, and the Supreme Court ruled that unions could bargain for insurance. By 1950, more than half of Americans had private health insurance. This is what set up the U.S. as one of the only developed countries without some form of universal coverage.
So before they get too deep, I'll talk about universal coverage. And this is by no means an expert opinion. I'm just telling you the basics. I was a big supporter of universal coverage. I was like, okay, Canada has universal health care. Why don't we have it? And it's only until I got older, I started doing like a little bit more research and really paying attention. And like I said, it's not an expert opinion. I'm just telling you based off of the information that I've been given and what I've read into. Not to say it can't work. It could, but not without the expense of the taxpayer. When I sit down and really think about it, if you've been in the military, you know what universal health coverage looks like. And my brothers and sisters, we all know that shit was trash. It sucked. I don't want to say that they didn't care about us, because that would be wrong. But the overall coverage that we received and how we were treated when it came to certain things that had to take place within us getting health coverage was not good. It's funny because it mirrors what goes on in a lot of these countries where they have universal coverage, right? Where the wait time and pretty much how you're treated, unless it's a medical emergency, is pretty much it mirrors that exact same thing. Where long wait times, you're not treated that well. The coverage, like as a baseline, when you're going for like regular checkups and everything like that, they don't really take care of you because they have other people to get to. They have other things that they are more concerned with. But because everyone's on it, it's kind of like, okay, they're going to be lacking in some way, shape, or form. Because the money that is supporting like universal health coverage has to come from somewhere. The government doesn't just get it. They get it from taxes. So in other words, that's another tax we would have to incur. And I don't know about you. I don't like all of them goddamn taxes being taken out of my money. No. Because you know what is going to happen? And it's a sad thing to say, but evidently it's true based off of what we see when it comes to other social services. People are gonna take advantage of it. People are gonna abuse it. You ever had your insurance, your car insurance, like increased by a certain amount, and you're just sitting there thinking, okay, I didn't do anything. I've been like a good driver. The reason that is because in your area, at the very least, there's been an uptick of people having accidents. There's been an uptick of people being irresponsible drivers. So because these insurance companies have to pretty much keep up with their profit, meaning they are not just going to have the same rates as before, while more and more people getting access, meaning more and more money they have to dish out, they're going to raise their rates to make it so that they make a profit. The whole point of having companies is having a profit, right? When you see that your car insurance is no longer $250 and now it's $326, it's because the people around you, and maybe even you, are fucking it up. That's why that happens. So if we were to apply that to a universal healthcare system, we are not the worst when it comes to health, but we're also not the best. Imagine what has to happen now at that point, especially state by state. Because of the irresponsibilities of other people when it comes to their health and their diet and how they want to carry themselves, we will get taxed more because it has to deal with the rate of people just being unhealthy and dying. It's going to get to the point you see someone smoking a cigarette, you're going to get pissed. You're going to want to fight them. So universal healthcare can work, but it's going to be painful for a lot of people.
And because the system ties coverage to a job and those old enough to be working, it creates gaps of people who are uninsured.
There's a buildup of tension over who's left out. And suddenly we end up with a new system that doesn't cover everyone, but adds the elderly and adds people in poverty.
He's talking about Medicare, which was created for anyone older than 65, regardless of income, and Medicaid, created at the same time, but at first only for those already on state welfare.
It was an afterthought. It was not seen as a program that was designed to survive and grow.
And while Medicare is funded through payroll taxes, just like Social Security, Medicaid is federal assistance to states running their own programs.
The funding logic of Medicaid has made it both contentious, unstable, but also explains its expansion. Every state was able to sign on and to negotiate issues like coverage. That flexibility also allowed states to, in some ways, like tailor the system to their population. As people often say, if you've seen one Medicaid program, you've seen one Medicaid program.
Over the years, as states would expand their eligibility, Congress would often follow suit, eventually covering the disabled, infants and pregnant women in poverty, children in poverty, eventually children not in poverty, and even single working adults with lower incomes under the Affordable Care Act.
These were
essentially what they're saying is that because this wasn't a set forth plan and they kind of were winging it when it came to Medicaid, they just kept adding on top of it because, and this is my working theory, right? The reason they kept adding on top of it is because I believe in coincided with elections. So certain, elected officials, they would promise, hey, look, we'll expand Medicaid. Hey, look, we'll make this better for everyone. So, hey, if your family's out here struggling, don't worry. We'll take care of that with Medicaid. That's what I believe. When you look at how Medicaid has gotten to where it is now and how so many people are depending on it to the very idea that when people talk about, hey, look, we might have to cut this off a little bit and people are panicking. That's how I see it. I could be 100% wrong. I could be talking out my ass, but that's just me. When you look at this, right? Essentially, Medicaid is taken care of from child to retirement age, and then that's when Medicare comes into place. But Medicare already has its own system because you're paying into that. This is straight government, tax, through the state and the federal, you know what I'm saying? So all of this is being funded by you, but then when you think about it, right, the people that are usually paying into Medicaid are the ones that are not using it, because they more often than not are being supported by their employer right down here. So in all honesty, most people that are benefiting off of Medicaid, and I'm not opposed to it, all right, and let me just say that now, were the people that more often than not didn't really put in for it.
Were incremental changes to try to leverage the program to help fill in the gaps for individuals that had no other access to insurance coverage.
At any given moment, you have people saying, I know, let's just change eligibility because people need coverage.
This is what healthcare coverage looks like in real numbers in the U.S. Most working age adults still get their insurance through their employer, some through public programs like those in the military. Many who make just over the poverty line or are disabled are on Medicaid, as are a lot of children, even if their parents don't qualify. Nearly everyone 65 and older has Medicare, and most also have an additional type of coverage. Many people buy health insurance directly on their own. Most use the healthcare.gov marketplace created by the Affordable Care Act for those that make too much for Medicaid but can't access or afford employer coverage. Nearly all of them receive tax credits to make it affordable.
I think it's fair to say it's all patchwork.
In the last few years, we've had record low numbers of people without health insurance. Obviously, with the changes in the bill, there's anticipation that a number of uninsured will go up.
It's estimated 8.7 million of these people would become uninsured because of work requirements and administrative barriers.
Imposing work requirements doesn't actually lead to additional employment, but does create these barriers to for people being able to maintain their coverage, so more individuals wind up without health insurance coverage.
And because the tax credits for the marketplace are not being extended, an estimated 4.2 million could lose coverage because it would simply cost too much. And losing that coverage doesn't mean they can just join their employer plan. Less than half of those with low incomes have access to insurance through their jobs. Even fewer part-time workers.
There just aren't a lot of other options.
So what it sounds like to me, something should be put in place through almost all employers to where they offer some type of health care benefit for the employees, because as it stands right now, seemingly a lot of people are gonna be asked out.
Medicaid has grown so large because it patches the gaps of those left out of this employer coverage-based system. But now, for the first time, that gap is going to widen.
We're just gonna have to wait and see. I mean, when it came to stuff in the Big Beautiful Bill, I went through and I read it. I didn't do a video on it. I probably should have. There was some things that I did see that I liked, and there were other things in there that I saw that I definitely didn't like, especially when it came to adding to the national budget. What, $2.5 trillion? Yeah, I'm not behind that shit. That's not what he ran on. So I have my own beef with it. But when it comes to stuff like this, I'm kind of stuck in the middle. And the reason why is because, yes, there are people, because what they're about to shave off, right, is going to affect a lot of people. It truly is. I do think there will be stuff put in place. Yet again, I'm not fully sure. There will be stuff put in place to protect those who are most vulnerable, so i.e. children and those who are disabled. So I don't think they will be the ones to suffer. I think it will be the ones who, I guess, maybe from single parent households or single adults that maybe just don't make enough. And there should be something set in place to help them in their pursuit to be healthy and have health coverage. What that can be, I don't know. Honestly, I don't. I just want to do this video to like kind of show people exactly what's going on, because there's a lot of hoopla, a lot of, well, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, and that's not necessarily true. All right, the fact of the matter is we're just going to have to wait and see. That people are not just going to lay down and die. That's not what happens. People find ways to adapt. They find ways to get ahead. They find ways to adjust to their circumstance. Yeah, that's all I got for this video. This is a short one. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment down below, tell me your thoughts. Let me know if I'm wrong. Like I always say, I'm not above reproach. I'm not above being told that I'm wrong, so let me know. Though if you do say something that's wrong and I find out it's wrong, I will talk shit in my next video, because that's just what I do. And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more. Peace.